Damsel Cortez from UP Los Baños, and I am honored to serve as your MC today. We welcome scientists, science communicators, academics, researchers, members of the media, our friends from the industry, regulatory offices, other stakeholders, and guests who are with us in the plenary. Also joining us virtually are fellow participants on Zoom. We do have a few house rules though for this hybrid setup. So we kindly ask our virtual guests to keep their microphones on mute, please, at the start of the program, unless you're invited to speak. But we encourage you to actively participate in the discussions, particularly the Q&A portion. There is also an option to post your questions using the chat box. You can do that even as we go through the presentations, and these will be tabled as we get to that portion of the program. And at the end, of course, we have our usual evaluation for the certificate of participation. So the study to be presented today was undertaken in 2022 to assess the public perception of Filipino stakeholders, a range of them, on biotechnology. And this was led by the International Service for the Acquisition of Agri-Biotech Applications, or ISAAA, in partnership with the Philippine Agriculture and Fisheries Biotechnology Program of the Department of Agriculture and the University of the Philippines Los Baños College of Development Communication. The research was undertaken as part of ISAAA and DA Biotech collaborative project called Know the Science, which aims to increase awareness and interest of the general public in modern biotechnology through different engagement activities. The study we will hear about today will be co-published with the Southeast Asian Regional Center for Graduate Study and Research in Agriculture, or SEARCA. And through today's presentations, we hope that we will be able to identify at least 3 key findings in the study, enumerate challenges in gathering data, that's also part of what we will discuss today, and explain briefly the public's perception towards agri-biotech in the Philippines. So to formally open our program, we will hear remarks from our key partners. We will start with the Executive Director of the Biotech Program, Dr. Claro N. Mingala from the Department of Agriculture, who unfortunately cannot join us today, but we are honored to have Ms. Charmaine Lopez of the same office, a science research specialist, to deliver Dr. Mingala's message. Let us welcome Ms. Charmaine Lopez.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Director Mingala, I am pleased to deliver his opening message for this event. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the launching of Perception Study Results Towards Agricultural Biotechnology, jointly organized by the ISAAA and the UPLB College of Development Communication. I would also like to extend our appreciation to our esteemed guest speakers, Dr. Cleofe Torres from University of the Philippines Los Baños, and Dr. Armin Coronado from Polytechnic University of the Philippines. In an era where agriculture stands as cornerstone of global food security and sustainability, the role of biotechnology in shaping our agricultural landscape cannot be overstated. The study, funded by the DA Biotech Program Office in partnership with the ISAAA and the UPLB College of Development Communication, offers valuable insights into how the public perceives, understands, and embraces the transformative potential of agricultural biotechnology. The result of the study has delved deep into the minds of diverse stakeholders, from consumers to farmers, policymakers to educators, to understand their beliefs and knowledge surrounding agricultural biotechnology. We've explored the nuances of public sentiment, the factors influencing opinions, and the avenues for constructive dialogue and education. Join us in our mission to create a bridge between science and society, ensuring that innovative agriculture technologies are harnessed, to address pressing global challenges such as food security, climate change, and sustainable farming practices. This launch event promises to be a platform for thoughtful discussions, networking, and shared insights that will shape the future of agricultural biotechnology. We invite you to be a part of this transformative journey. With that, magandang umaga po ulit sa ating lahat. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez, for inviting us to join in that call. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to start. We have another partner with us joining today for the opening remarks. He is representing the executive director of SEARCA, who will not be able to join us today, but an equally important ally in pushing for modern agriculture. So maybe please welcome Professor Joselito Florendo, Deputy Director of SEARCA.
Oh, Dr. Rodora Romero Aldemita and our dear partners at ISAAA, Dr. Claro Mingala of the DA Biotechnology Program Office, Dr. Cleofe Torres of the UPLB College of Development Communication, esteemed colleagues, our friends in media, ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga po. It is my honor and privilege to represent SEARCA and our director, Dr. Glenn B. Gregorio, this morning as we share the results of the perception study we did with ISAAA and the UPLB College of Development Communication as part of the Know the Science Strengthening Biotech Links project. I was told that the study was done during a time that there were many pandemic-related restrictions to travel and mobility. Allow me to thank everyone who worked for us to be able to gather information from the different study areas. I know it has not been an easy task. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. As some of you may know, I come from the field of accounting, business, and finance. And at first, this would seem light years away from the field of agricultural biotechnology. However, as you ponder on it, there may be similarities that we do not instantly recognize. In both fields, there is a need to understand what is actually happening in the field and to draw implications for the future. This would determine how we would act, how much needs to be done, and what kind of investments are needed for us to realize our goal. By understanding public perception on agri-biotechnology, researchers, technology developers, and communication specialists would have an idea on how to plan and design future strategies to improve public understanding and acceptance of this agricultural innovation. We may have assumptions, but it is better for us to plan investments based on the realities of our current scenario. The sharing of the results of this perception study does not close, but opens a new chapter in our knowledge-sharing efforts related to agricultural biotechnology. It does not allow us to rest on our laurels, but it stirs us to action. Later on, we will be able to list action points that would require results after a couple of years. The Southeast Asian Regional Center for Graduate Study and Research in Agriculture, or SEARCA, won't be able to create an enabling environment for biotech in the Philippines alone. It takes a whole network of like-minded organizations, of a concerted effort by different stakeholders, including media partners, in order to move forward with our shared goal of accelerating transformation through agricultural innovations like products of modern biotechnology. The road waits for us. No matter who you are, no matter from which background you are from, we invite you to be part of the solution. For us to be able to harvest and to maximize the potential of modern agri-biotech for the Philippines and beyond. My name is Joe Florendo. I am from SEARCA. Maraming salamat po. Magandang umaga at mabuhay po tayong lahat. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Florendo. It is indeed reassuring to know that we have people from various fields supporting our advocacy. And indeed, you have emphasized the need to understand our publics to create an enabling environment for agri-biotech. And we have the perfect opportunity to do that now as we proceed to the exciting part. Nandito na po tayo sa exciting part. We will hear two presentations from the study that was conducted during the pandemic. I will introduce each of the presenters before they deliver their part. So we'll start with the first. The first presentation will be delivered by Dr. Cleofe S. Torres. She is the principal investigator of the study, and she's the former professor and dean of the College of Development Communication in UPLB. Her 16-year career in science communication boasts of several landmark studies on agri-biotech and its publics. So there's one, the first in 2006 on agri-biotech perception studies in the Philippines and Indonesia, adoption and uptake pathways research on BT corn in 2014, and the study was replicated in China and India after it was done in the Philippines. There's also an agri-biotech perception study among lawyers in the Philippines that was completed in 2017. And this study that we will hear about, the 2022 public perception study of agri-biotech in the Philippines, which is a revisit of the earlier study in 2006. Just for transparency purposes, she is also my mother, and I happen to be moderating our discussion today, but I will try to be as unbiased, of course, and in presenting to you the first study that will be shared to us. It's about stakeholders' perception of agri-biotech today, aligning our next move. Let us please welcome Dr. Cleofe S. Torres.
Good morning, everyone. And I am pleased to meet the various stakeholders face-to-face this time kasi yung mga previous seminars natin during the pandemic were mostly online. So I'm going to present the key findings. And without much ado, I'll introduce the study. Can I use this na lang? Okay, kasi I'd rather stand up and concentrate on my PowerPoint. Now, as mentioned, this is now actually the second study conducted by the team, by our team. But actually, the first study on perception on biotech was done sometime in 2002, but it was done by a team based at University of Illinois in Champaign. So, and that was actually the first set of results given us. But I mean, I'm referring to the one done by our team in 2006 as the baseline for our comparative study. And therefore, because we led that study in 2006, I'm more comfortable using that as our basis for comparison. So there are only 3 questions intended for the study, and these are as follows. How does the public perceive agri-biotech 16 years after public debates on GM crops? What changed? What did not change? I think we're interested on that. After BT corn, how does the public react to animal biotech? We added the last objective because there is now a move towards biotech in animal sector. So when we talk about public debates, in 2002 and until now, 2 issues actually stand out. And these are about GM crops having potential negative impacts on human health and multinational companies having the monopoly over production and distribution of GM seeds. Of course, there are other issues, but we point out that these stand out because they're the most frequently mentioned in seminars and even in the studies that we conducted. The areas covered by our study include 10 regions extending from north to south of our country. And they covered 10 provinces, each province representing a region. So we have Cagayan, Metro Manila, Laguna, Mindoro Oriental, Iloilo, Negros Occidental, Cebu, Bukidnon, North Cotabato, and Davao. As you could see, there are 3 red-colored provinces. These have been added to the 2022 study because we also want to know the public perception of stakeholders in provinces where there is an existing ban on GMO entry in their places. Now, who is our public? What constitutes our public? Consistently, we have been using this lineup of stakeholders in the biotech perception studies that we have been doing. So we have businessmen and traders, consumers, extension workers, farmer leaders and community leaders, journalists, media persons, policymakers, religious leaders, scientists, and we added students this time. In our study, we had a total of 1,180 respondents. Now, how was it done? How did we do it? As mentioned, it was pandemic and still a lot of health protocols were being implemented then. So what we did was to do a multi-stage purposive sampling, as I've mentioned. So we have representative respondents from various regions, 10 of them and 10 provinces. And we selected also representative municipality and city at the lowest level of area of or locale of our study. Initially, we intended to do random sampling, but because of the pandemic, we were forced to just do purposive sampling. Whoever were accessible and were willing and can be reached by our interviewers were accessed and used and tapped as our respondents. So what happened was that we initially had to use Google survey because that can be done online due to pandemic. But unfortunately, in many instances, the connectivity was very unstable in many areas, particularly in the Visayas and Mindanao regions. So we were forced to do face-to-face, but using the same pulse survey-like instruments. So there was no intention to probe because that would entail a lot of, interaction, and we didn't want that to happen then because it was still pandemic. So it was more of a combination of Google survey plus face-to-face pulse survey. And we have to assign field coordinators, 10 of them, and mostly they came from academe and one government agency. Most of them are affiliated with our College of Development Communication, so the camaraderie is already there. In terms of data analysis, we did a combination of frequency count, percentage, weighted mean, quiz score, and word cloud. Now, the key findings. There were many findings, but for the purposes of this launching program, we will only focus on some more important ones. So first of all, to give you the profile, more or less, we have an equal representation of male and female in the group. And surprisingly, mas marami po ang single. So huwag tayong mawala ng pag-asa. Marami pa po kayong makukuha if you intend to get married. Of course, wala kaming chance. So we were not able to ask or probe for resource or ano. So we just present to you the statistics. And many were also college graduates, particularly in agriculture. And I think that's because most of the respondents came from halimbawa, students came from academia where agricultural courses are being offered, tsaka yung scientists usually came from agriculture institutions. Now, in terms of sources of information, when I talk about the public, I'm talking about the aggregated ng stakeholders, no? I'm not talking about the individual stakeholders yet, but at some point we will present also some disaggregated information. So the public is actually using multi sources of information, but if you're going to rank them, the social media would rank first, followed by mass media, and person sources would come last. How does it look like if we disaggregate social media? Kasi I think obviously it's because of the pandemic, people have been glued to the social media because wala namang ibang recourse during the time. So in terms of social media, Facebook and YouTube rank the highest. And followed by, of course, web-based sources. And in terms of mass media, below 50% yan, we have TV and e-newspapers, no, not the printed ones. The radio actually would come last. We can cite many reasons for that, though we did not explore, but it could be that in the questionnaire, when we talk about radio, baka ang ID nila, it's the typical radio na yung nakabox pa, no? But in the telephone, meron na ding access sa radio. So person sources have been included also, but they rank, as I've said, the least. And this refer to the fellow farmers and the scientists. So makita natin, medyo mababa ang person sources, particularly the scientists. But in terms of level of trust, this is where the surprise would come in. The scientists are given total trust. Sila lang. No other person sources or source of information is given that level of trust. The social and mass media are given only some trust, no, in general, though they actually rank higher than the person sources. So what do we see? Okay. So there's some kind of irony in terms of this set of findings, that the public would actually access social media like Facebook and YouTube, even if they're only given this media some trust, because they are mostly accessed. Kasi madali naman silang, the social media is omnipresent, anytime, anywhere they can have this. But the scientists whom they totally trust, unfortunately, have been least accessed. And I think the reason is also pretty obvious, because the scientists cannot just be found anywhere. They're in their laboratories and their offices. So hindi kasi accessible, but they are the most trusted. Now, let's go to correct knowledge about agrobiotech. In the study, the public was given a set of 11 factual information or scientific information about biotech. It's some sort of a pop quiz, and they were given scores. Out of 11, how many were able to get the correct score? So we took the average of that, and therefore, what came out are this information, no, or this data. Out of 11 items, the public in general obtained 8 correct answers, and therefore we're happy about that, in fact, because more or less they get 73% correct, o medyo pumasa. Arbitrarily, if we set 50 as the passing score, o medyo mababa yata pag UP 60 ang passing, medyo mataas-taas na rin, no, yung 73%. So these statements would actually include the following. So the public believes that emerging technologies always have potential risk. So medyo maganda-ganda ng pangitain yun. Then GM crops are now commercially grown and sold in the Philippines. They're aware of that. Happy na tayo. Medyo may alam na sila dyan. And yeast for brewing consists of living organisms. I think tinuturo naman niya sa elementary and high school. And food science cannot guarantee zero risk. Maganda rin yan kasi actually hindi tataas yung expectation nila about biotech. Lahat may risk. Then in genetic engineering, genes of interest are transferred from one organism to another. Naando naman sa term, genetic engineering, and therefore genes ang involved doon. And all crops have been genetically modified through domestication, selection, and controlled breeding through time, but the score is now becoming lower. And finally, golden rice contains beta-carotene, that's about 55%. So those who are into golden rice or malusog, you should be happy. You have actually won the battle by 50% by this time. Now, meron ding statements where the public is wrong. Mali yung sagot. So three items have been perceived wrongly. First, plant viruses are transferred to humans when they eat vegetables and fruits infected with plant viruses. The scientific fact is that viral diseases in plants are unlikely to infect humans because their cells differ greatly. Iba yung cells ng palahalaman at saka ng tao. So it is difficult for plant virus to enter an animal cell in the first place. Kaya lang, pag sinabi mong virus, takot na yung tao. Nag-pandemic pa. Virus yung name of the game during that time. So mas lalong natakot. Another item. Sabi nila, ordinary tomatoes do not contain genes, while GM tomatoes do, 53.9%. It's a little bit disturbing kasi ang iniisip ng public, yung may genes lang, yung GM foods. Pag walang GM na tatak, walang genes. Hindi naman ganun yung sinuturo sa atin. Hindi naman yun yung scientific truth. All living things, GM or not, have genes. But genes are inherited and control the characteristics and traits of the organisms offsprings. Hindi naman siya namamana pag kinain. Also, another one, by eating GM food, ito yung sinasabi ko earlier, a person's genes could be modified. Scientific fact, genes of GM crops are not acquired by humans through mere eating. All genes, for that matter, are inherited. Now, we take note of these three items because, as I mentioned earlier, the potential impact of GM food on health and safety is high. And therefore, yung mga things like this that cause people to fear should be paid attention to, like genes and viruses. I don't know if all of us here are aware about that. But ako nung una, hindi ko masyadong naintindihan yung sa virus. Akala ko din, nakakahawa agad yon from plants to tao. Hindi pala. Now, how about the attitude towards biotech? We should be happy at this point. We use the rating scale, with 1 to 5, with 5 as the highest. The public says that use of biotech in food production is in accordance with their personal and societal values. So walang masyadong problema in terms of sasabihin nila hindi yan akma sa kanilang kultura o sa value, no? Then another one is that the public believes that man may be allowed to modify nature and that safe GM foods can be distributed. However, there's a red flag somewhere. The public tends to believe that regulation of modern technology should be left to the industry. Now, we're supposed to do regulation of food in the country. It is always the government, and it is not vested in any other sector. By law, it is the government, and the public is not highly informed about that or highly knowledgeable on that. Now, what are the favorable views about biotech? We have a number of them, that government agencies are doing their best to ensure that the food we eat is safe. Good. I will say that this is a good point for government agencies doing advocacy work on biotech, that expert statements on biotech are based on scientific analysis and therefore objective. Another good point, that biotech is good for Philippine agriculture and that the risks of genetic engineering have been greatly exaggerated. Teka, nunod-nudan. Where am I? Sorry. Parang nagkamali ako. Okay. Ito, na-discuss ko na to. Sorry ha. However, there are two items where we need to pay attention to. Despite perceiving the government regulations as favorable, the public also feels that this should include inputs from non-government groups, and that the public should be provided with vital information about health effects of GM foods. Kasi parang ang feel nila, hindi masyadong open ang discussion o ang mga presentation of information about health impacts of GM foods. Now, sorry ha, nawala yung ano ko. There. The ranking of stakeholders based on knowledge, if you're going to summarize that, medyo natakpan we'll take note that in terms of ranking, the scientists rank the highest. Siyempre, sila yung nagagawa and therefore, sila yung may alam, no? And they're followed by, nandun yung list, yung label sa taas, extension workers, 68.7, and journalists and media persons. So I think we have infiltrated the media sector a lot already. And followed by students, because these people have been, or these students have been studying agricultural schools and some are taking up biotech. And followed by farmer leaders and community leaders, 60, kulay yellow, 57.8 something. Now, those at the lower level, kung 50 pa rin yung ating arbitrary passing level, sabihin natin more or less, the public have gone beyond the 50 and therefore medyo up na yung ating level of knowledge. However, if we're going to ask ourselves, who else should be targeted more so that they will gain more? Yung nasa baba, business and traders, taas tayo. Then, yung 55.5. Then, consumers, yung orange. Then, policy makers and religious group. Who else do we want to reach? Kasi, ito ang picture. Nasa baba pa yung ibang sectors. Now, in terms of using biotech for food production, we have the public tends to rank them, no? Lahat naman importante. However, in terms of ranking, nauna yung nutritional quality, followed by the food being non-poisonous. Medyo nagtaka ako doon kasi di ba dapat non-poisonous muna para maging nutritional quality. Pero that means mas preferred nila yung medyo health conscious ang Filipino public. Then non-allergenic, better taste, price, pesticide residue, and food appearance. So health pa rin ang primary concern. Then perception of regulations. I think I have done this. Now, in terms of reaction to biotech in animal production, there is, I think at this point, the implications will be quite challenging for us in biotech because the public feels that there is a high need for more information about animal biotech. Though the public has high trust that scientists are working on it for benefit of the people. So plus factor yon. But there is still moderate support about animal biotech for medical treatments, and there is moderate agreement to support animal biotech unreservedly. We're not saying it's not being supported, but I think we still have to do some work, more work to move up the score on animal biotech. What are the grounds for having reservations towards animal biotech? More on ethical and safety and health grounds. They feel that respect for animal rights and welfare in terms of application of biotech in animal, it's a little bit something that it's something that worries them, no? Yung respect for animal rights and then the presence of unknown risks. But yung law concern, yung interference with nature and yung religious ground. So it implies na hindi masyadong important factor ang religion in terms of biotech application in animals. Now, what changed or did not change after 16 years? Ito na yung difference after 16 years. Of course, in 2006 study, wala pa namang pandemic noon. So mass media and online sources nag-start noon ang popular, followed by interpersonal. So in terms of ranking, dalawa lang sila. Una yung mass media. Noong 2022, na iba na ang landscape. Nagkaroon ng radical change because of the pandemic, I would think. Social media, biglang pumasok. It was dominated by social media, and particularly Facebook and YouTube, followed by mass media and online sources, and huli pa rin ang interpersonal. Okay? Now, on the most trusted sources, scientists have remained the most trusted since 2002 hanggang ngayon. Nung una, in 2006, yung academe ang medyo higher in score, followed by scientists from research and development institutions. Pero nung 2000 study, scientists pa rin, nauna naman medyo mataas ang score nung mga galing sa R&D than academe. But I don't think it matters a lot because both of them are scientists anyway. In terms of knowledge of biotech, very good. Walang nagbago. It remains very good. Pero yung 8 at saka 8 ngayon, parang walang change. No? Dapat yata umakyat yung 8 to something like 9, 10, or 11. No? Pero nasa very good. Hindi siya excellent. The knowledge of genes and viruses, etong nakakatawa. Noong 2000 study, considerably low na nga 58.7. Noong 2022, nagka-pandemic lang, mas lalong bumaba. Siguro mas natakot sila sa virus. Or dahil nagkaroon ng information gap, mas lalong hindi natutunan. So, mas mababa ang knowledge about genes and viruses. And they're important kasi sila yung napiperceive na threat sa health. Yung health yung important issue na concern ng public. Yung attitude, pareho namang favorable until now, in general. Ang unfavorable, they remain the same. Yung nagbago, it's about threat to public health and control of seeds by MNCs. So that means, hindi naman sa hindi siya ina-address. I think they have been addressed fairly well. But still, hindi pa rin nababago yung perception ng public nung threat nitong dalawa na to. Then as to uses of biotech crops, the public perceive them as good for commercial growing and food. Pareho lang, di nagbago. Sa government regulations, pareho din. Participation in biotech-related activities, relatively low nung 2006 study, but now it's still relatively low. And as to public contributing time and money in promoting biotech, nung 2006, medyo disagree. Ngayon, a little bit nung 2022, medyo nag-a-agree pero moderate pa lang. So, anong implications? What will be our next move? Ito yung sinasabi kanina ni Dr. Florendo, no? So, what are the results for? Well, as we have seen, the scientists have been considered most trusted sources of information. So parang ang direct implication, itap natin sila as sources of information, as speakers, narrators, storytellers. But it is not, it is easily said than done. I think there are more things that we need to do to be able to proceed to that point. Una, who are the scientists? Sino-sino ba yung scientists na pwedeng itap? Agriculturists, botanists, biologists, plant breeders, and are they willing to talk to the public? If not, why? If so, then why also? If willing, what do they need to enable them to carry out the job? Hindi naman kasi pwedeng, o sige, sila yung ating itatap, bukas magsasalita na, no? We have to prepare the scientists to do the task. So anong skills na kailangan, incentives? I don't think people will just do it for nothing, no? Unless they have a very strong conviction that it is part of their advocacy. It could be reform in their career system kasi may mga scientists tayo dito, hindi na wala namang points pag nagsalita yata sa public ang scientists, no? They're given points in terms of their promotion doon sa inventions nila o sa publications, hindi doon sa public talk. And are they capable of using the social media? I think many of them do, pero we're not sure. Kasi as the scientist age, katulad ko, nagiging takot sa social media. And then how about partnering with communicators? Are they willing to do that? So what I'm saying is that we still need to find out a lot of things about scientists. That means siguro pag-aralan din natin sila as potential speakers of biotech. And when would they be ready to do this? Now, as to media appropriation, of course, we have just said that the social media is the, so to speak, man of the hour. However, the use of media is also governed by certain established principles. So we need to know, nasa na ba ang public? Nasa awareness stage, trial or evaluation, or acceptance and adoption. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng lagi tayong mass media and social media forever. No? So kung nasa awareness pa, halimbawa yung nasa baba kanina sa knowledge level, no? Sino ba yung medyo mababa? Yung consumers, yung policymakers, at saka yung traders, businessmen. Baka awareness, ay talagang social media and particularly Facebook and YouTube. Pero pagkatapos nun, there are now people or groups who are working or still evaluating. Ano bang biotech? What is in it for me? If I try this, what happens? So meron na din ginawang mga consultations, mga seminars, workshop, face-to-face na yon, group meetings na yon. So ibig sabihin, magsi-shift na tayo or medyo lalaki na ang investment from mass media, mag-i-invest ka na ngayon marami sa consultations or public engagement, because that is the better term now. In public engagement, it is more inclusive and is more empathetic and therefore is more ethical. And meron din namang group na naando na sa acceptance and adoption, katulad ng corn farmers. 6 times na ang mga halos areas planted to BT corn. So they need people to talk to nung magkakaproblema sa pagtatanim. Anong gagawin ko kung hindi natubo yung mga seeds na nabili ko? So they need the help of interpersonal sources like DA technicians. Ang problema, hindi naman nagagawa yan ng ating DA technicians kasi sa devolution, hindi naman ma-afford yung kailangang resources to be able to talk to the farmers. So sometimes, tatanungin natin, who do the farmers talk to? Hindi na mass media ang kailangan doon. Kailangan doon tao na. Most of the time, ang kausap nila ngayon, traders. So tutuusin, noong 2014 study namin, pinakita doon na the traders, sila ang kanilang significant other. Because their work start with the traders. They get their inputs, lahat ng nila sa traders. Pagka-harvest ng corn, traders pa rin ang kaharap kasi yung traders ang bumibili ng corn. So pag inalis mo si traders, patay ang ating negosyo, ang industry ng BT corn. But we have not actually tapped the business, the traders. Of course, sasabihin natin, ano naman sila, mga negosyante? Of course, yun ang business nila, kaya nga traders sila, no? Profit. But it is not a bad, I think it is not a bad intention na mag-profit ka as long as, you do it properly. So ang tanong lang natin, sino na ang kanilang source of information pag naandun na sila sa acceptance and adoption? Dapat ito ay nag-move towards dyan. May investment ka dito, malaki dito pag dumadami na ito, at lalong lumalaki kung meron na dito. That means hindi lang isang sector ang gagawa. We need the partners like our government agencies to help us do the work. Now, ang tanong, have we reached a critical mass of the public? Nasaan na tayo? Ano ba yung critical mass? Palagay natin, nasan na tayo? Lampas na, no? Ang dami ng awareness, pero meron pa rin kailangan gawing trabaho. Mahirap i-define yung critical mass kasi nagdidepende yan. Ang definition talaga niya, pagka tinignan mo sa literature, ay critical mass is that point when that technology would be self-sustaining na. Hindi mo na kailangang i-promote. Like yung cellphone, hindi mo na kailangang kumbinsihin yung kaharap mo, oh, you buy cellphone. Whenever everybody has the money, that person will buy the cellphone. So self-sustaining na yung adoption. And we have not reached that, I think, in terms of biotech. So yung critical mass dapat ma-reach pa natin, and therefore malaki pa yung trabaho. As to social media usage, kasi nga baka masyado tayong madala dun sa finding na Facebook yan at saka YouTube. We have some caveats about the use of social media kasi kailangan intindihin rin natin ano yung features noon, ano yung nature ng social media. Based on the latest data, yung Philippine data, social media users, 84 million. Ilan ba ang population ng Philippines? Almost 120. Ang laki nun, 73%. Ang dami. So, talagang pwedeng-pwede mong gamitin ng social media for awareness, no? Ang average user, 16 to 64. And yun ang range, ang average ay 25. Ito yung mga nasa independent stage. They make decisions for themselves, so favorable pa rin sa atin. However, ano ang attention span sa social media? Kayo, gaano katagal ninyo tinititigan ang Facebook nyo? Di ba segundo lang? 8 to 10 seconds lang. How much can you say within the 8 to 10 seconds? So, malaking challenge yan sa ating communication efforts. Then, average time spent per day, 3 hours and 43. Aba, parang wala nang ginawa ang tao, hindi mag-social media, kalahating araw na yan. No? And, ano ang reasons while they're doing it? Saan papasok ang biotech communication? Ito, number 1, they want to stay connected. Socialization yan. Number 2, how to do things. Medyo papasok ang biotech kasi people would like to learn how to do new things. Be updated with the latest. Kaya ang daming marites. No? Pagka wala kang latest information, napaka-stressful niyan. Kailangan lagi tayong updated. So, the promise of social media is still there. And it is still something that we should consider. But, kailangan nating tingnan itong realidad na to. This is the truth about social media. And there is the big danger of fake information in social media. The findings of the University of Southern California in 2023 show this. Sabi niya, yung structure of social media would make the social media inherently rich in fake information. Kasi ang contents being patronized are those that are sensational and eye-catching. So usually yan yung fake. Dahil pagka sensational ine-exaggerate o gumagawa ng ibang storya. Then, pag na-engage ka sa social media, it is addicting. Hindi ka natitigil. Minsan natutunan ko yung Facebook. Di na ako natigil hanggang gabi. Karap ko yung Facebook. And therefore, it encourages the users to form the habit of posting, sharing, and engaging. Wala nang katapusang storya. Nagdadagdag, nagbabawas na lang. Then, habitual users forward 6 times more fake news than occasional ones. Siguro naman more than 90% habitual users. Multiply that by 6 times, ang dami talagang fake information. And the incentive is on popularity, not on accuracy. So therefore, you don't look for accurate information. The social media lagi ang titingnan mo because that is not the nature of the media. So, if we want to go on with our work in communicating biotech, there are 2 major issues to be handled, yung health impacts and safety of GM crops. We're doing this a lot of times. Yung popularization natin, merong mga well-established principles. So I guess based on the findings, we have to do more work on genes and viruses. And the techniques would include yung definition, analogy, comparison and contrast, drawings and illustration, demonstration of the process involved. Yan ang principles ng science communication. And itong last slide, we still have to address these 2 issues that have remained there for 16 years. Hindi pa masyadong nasusolve. Yung control ng MNCs about GM crops, hindi ko rin alam kung paano sasagutin, pero as I reviewed the literature, sinasabi doon, kasi yung GM crops, napuproduce mo lang under controlled conditions and therefore sa mga laboratories yan. Sino bang may lab? Siyempre yung mga private companies, no? And at the end of the day, the biotech crops are just being offered as alternatives, no? As options. It's not for everybody. People can choose. At the end of the day, it's the people who should decide whether they will take it or leave it, no? So hindi naman siya talaga must for everybody. Okay, so I'm happy at this point to introduce the members of our team. So can you just stand up as I call you? So si Doc Ola, ang aming project leader, siya ang pinuno namin dyan. Si Jerome, Kaiton ba? Baradas. Nalimutan ko apelido ni si Jerome, ang aming isa sa study leader. Si Miss Tati, ang aming assistant, si Juby, at saka si Dana. And yung si Dr. Armin, isa sa aming mga field coordinators. Inintroduce ko sila kasi yung questions tutulo silang sumagot. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Torres. I think we're now so filled with nuggets of information. And if I had sonic eyes, I could see from your thought bubbles that you already have so many insights and possibly questions already at this point. But I ask you to kindly park them for now, including our guests on Zoom. If you can hold off for now on your questions, and we will have ample time for them later. At this point, we will proceed with the next presentation. And as you know, the study was conducted during the pandemic, as earlier mentioned, with a lot of barriers and restrictions on mobility. But even though that time posed many challenges to how the study will be conducted, it also prompted a way to adapt the methodology and call learnings from that experience. And the next presentation will draw precisely from that. And we are honored to have with us Dr. Armin S. Coronado, an associate professor from the College of Science and director of the Research Institute for Science and Technology at the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. He is a biologist with specialization in botany, and he served as the field coordinator for the National Capital Region in this 2022 Agri-Biotech Perception Study. Let us welcome Dr. Coronado to hear about challenges and insights, data gathering in the midst of pandemic. Let's give him a hand, please.
Hello, good morning to everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Cleofe Torres and ISAAA for the opportunity given to me to be part of this perception study. And as we all know, kanina kasasabi lang ni Dr. Torres na may mga results tayo, pero bago natin nakuha yung mga results na yon, there are many challenges that we encountered during the data gathering, because as we all know, this was conducted during the pandemic. Okay, so during pandemic, dun sa group natin, I think it was already presented by Dr. Torres that these are the different group of respondents that we had. So, nung una, I just thought na, okay, madali lang to kasi the initial thing that we intended to do is using the Google form. But however, during that time, so ang strategy ginawa natin dito, since I am in the NCR, I was responsible for the respondents in NCR. So ang strategy ginawa ko kasi dito ay kinuha ko yung pool of names sa bawat grupo, and ang mahirap dito kasi ang isang struggle na nakuha ko dito ay hindi lahat ay gustong ibigay ang kanilang email address. So, yun, since monitoring naman namin, lagi dyan, so sinabi ko na parang ang hirap po ayaw ibigay yung mga email address nila. Siguro data privacy or siguro ayaw nilang kulitin sila dahil pag naibigay nila yung email address, baka kung ano-anong mga information na bigay. So we sort out into a face-to-face na sabi namin dun during our monitoring and during our meeting na ito yung problems na na-encounter namin. And dito sa mga group of respondents namin dito, ang naka 100% lang using the Google Forms are the students and the scientists. The rest are combination already of online survey and face-to-face. Bakit kaya? Kasi as we all know, mas techie na yung mga students at saka yung mga scientists, techie. But however, some of the consumers ay hindi. Tapos yung mga journalists, yung journalists minsan kasi ang problema doon ay masyado silang busy, yung mga journalists. So pagka in-email mo sila, nakatatlong follow-ups ka na minsan, ay hindi pa rin sila nagre-respond. Fortunately, some of the journalists na nabigyan ko ng mga survey ng Google Forms ay medyo kakilala ko. Kaya the good thing there is pwede ko siyang i-follow up at minsan ayaw na nila doon. Kaya nung nagkaroon na tayo ng mga face-to-face, nabibigyan na lang natin sila ng survey. Kasi mas gusto nila yung ayaw nila nung pagdating pa. So mas maganda na yung i-meet kita. Pag nung minute ko, bigay ko ring survey, habang nandoon, nag-meet kami, ay ibibigay sa akin, right after namin mag-usap, ay makukuha ko na yung survey na filled out. So, mga ganun mga strategy yung ginagawa, medyo yung camaraderie, yung mga communication, so mga ganun po yung mga strategy yung ginagawa. And since NCR po yung aking area, medyo nagkaroon na tayo ng problema dito pagdating sa business leaders and farm leaders and community leaders. And even in the extension workers. Kasi as we all know, in Metro Manila kasi, limited ang medyo related sa agriculture. So what we did is, na pinayagan naman ako ni Dr. Torres, na ang ginawa natin ay the province that will be near in Metro Manila. So ang nakuha natin dito ay yung Pulilan, Bulacan. Sorry. So what will be the reasons bakit tayo nagkaroon ng face-to-face? Okay, kasi nga mahirap yung nangyari doon sa Google Form. Kaya during that time, fortunately, limited na yung restrictions dun sa movement ng COVID-19, especially in Pulilan, Bulacan, medyo okay na. So pwede na yung papunta-punta, hindi na katulad nung talagang time ng quarantine na mahirap talaga. So dito ay medyo okay na siya. Kaya what we did is nagpunta tayo ng face-to-face para mas makakuha tayo ng ating mga respondents. And then another reasons for face-to-face survey is that there will be low turnout of responses from online study. So talagang kahit anong gawin natin, kahit anong kulit, kahit anong follow-up natin, tinawagan mo na sa phone, ayaw pa rin mag-reply dun sa ating Google Form. And another thing is that ito yung strategy na nakita natin dito, that in order to become effective in a particular area, dapat meron kang kakilala dun sa area. At yung focal person na yon, siya yung magde-determine doon sa mga respondents, sa group of respondents natin. And it would really help kasi syempre sila yung mga kabarangay, kaprobinsya, so mas kakilala sila. So mas madali namin nape-penetrate yung mga group of respondents po natin. So what are the challenges in answering the questionnaires? So ito based on our experience, and I don't know if the other field coordinators have the same kind of experience. Okay, so the first thing that we encountered is that there would be lengthy set of questions. So in the questionnaire kasi, it is composed of 10 parts. And doon sa bawat part na yon, may mga iba-ibang sub-questions. And in total, if I am not mistaken, nung binilang ko, it's more than around 30 questions. So, ano ang tendency nito? So, minsan na-intimidate yung sumasagot, or sasabihin pag inano kasi mga 5 or 7 pages yun, ang kapal naman ito. Or parang ganun yung sinasabi nila. So, yun yung isa sa mga challenges na nakikita natin or nag-i-interfere pagdating sa answering the questionnaire. And another thing is that there is no Filipino translation. Kasi remember here that most of the respondents na nakuha natin dito are farmers, and most of them have a low educational attainment, lalo na sa mga consumers. So medyo hirap sila pagdating sa mga English. And ang hindi naman sa hirap sa English, pero the question is more on agri-biotech. Masyadong technical yung ibang terms. So mahirap sa kanilang intindihin kung ano yung mga genes. Minsan hindi naman nila alam kung ano yung genes. Yung virus na intindihan nila, pero pagdating ng genes, ano ba nga ba yung genes? So kami din, hindi rin namin alam kung paano ililaymans yung term na genes, yung ganon. So yun ang medyo, kasi pagka nagsasagot na sila, ang mangyayari dyan ay, ano ba yung genes? Ay, ito po yung ganito. So you need some further discuss. Hindi naman actually discuss, kundi dinedefine for them to understand kung ano kanilang pwedeng i-answer for that particular question. So since it is lengthy, so napansin namin that the questionnaire can be answered more than 30 minutes. There are two types of respondents na pwede nating sabihin. Meron tayong mga dependent at saka meron tayong mga independent respondents. Yung medyo familiar dun sa agri-biotech, less than 30 minutes na kukuha nila. Pero kapag hindi sila familiar doon sa mga terminologies, talagang medyo matagal yung kanilang pagsasagot doon sa questionnaire. And most of the respondents cannot answer without the guide of the surveyor. So there is a need for some items na kailangan natin na bigyan ng guide for them to understand kung ano yung sinasagutan nila. Kasi parang ang feeling nila parang nag-e-exam, ganon. Parang ayaw nila magkamali doon sa kanilang sasagot. Parang ganon. So, as I said, that there are two types of respondents that we encountered. One would be the independent respondents, and the second one would be the dependent respondents. So what are these independent respondents? So these independent respondents, ito yung hindi mo na sila binibigyan ng guide. Pagka binigay mo yung questionnaires or your Google form, talagang ultimately sasagot na nila. Pero ano yung mga encounters na problems na na-encounter natin or challenges? First, they usually ask enough time to answer the questionnaire. Since nung nakita nga nila na it is very lengthy, so bigyan mo naman ako ng time para matapos ito. So the surveyor would set date and time for the collection on the completed questionnaire. And then some were intimidated with the comprehensive questionnaire. And there must be a constant follow-up to perform so that mas mataas yung turnout ng responses, if both in online and in the written, yung sa survey form. So kasi minsan ginagawa natin, o iwan muna namin sa inyo to kasi balikan na lang siya. So ganun ang ginagawa natin kasi ayaw naman nating madaliin sila pagdating sa pag-answer ng survey questions. And then for the dependent respondents, they would seek assistance in the answering the questionnaire, especially yung mga terminologies na hindi nila naiintindihan. And then they need further explanation in several survey items. And then there would be an extra lengthy gathering of data. So ito medyo matagal ang inano namin sa isang respondent would be around 45 to 60 minutes. On average, there will be around 30 minutes to 45 minutes in order to finish one respondent. And ang strategy ginawa namin dito sa mga dependent respondents, we already have ready response to commonly asked questions in order to shorten the time of data collections. Kasi after mga 5, parang sabi ko, ay, puro ito yung mga tinatanong. Isulat na nga namin ng enumerator ko kung ano yung tinatanong para kapag naka-ready na kami para ma-shorten yung time. So these are the things that would help in order to extra help needed by certain groups of respondents. Kasi nakita namin in our experience, meron tayong mga respondents na older persons, there are some respondents with lower educational attainment, and there are some respondents with limited access to key people, and there are respondents that needs proper endorsements. So for the old persons, may mga certain limitation siya kasi may mga may impaired na yung hearing niya in terms of sight and ability to speak. So sa hearing, so kailangan malakas ang boses mo, lalo na kapag malabo na yung mata. So ang nangyayari ay kami na lang ang nagbabasa nung questionnaire, tapos lalaksan namin, tapos kung ano yung sagot nila, kami na lang nagti-tick mark. Total naman yung questionnaire naman natin ay by ticking lang naman yung answers dyan. And then sa older persons, if ever na meron nag-a-attempt na sila yung nag-tick mark, they have a difficulty in completing the survey. So diyan na pumapasok yung aming intervention na kung ano yung kailangan tulong para matapos lang nila ay ginagawa namin. And with lower educational attainment, kasi sa experience namin, lalo na sa Pulilan, Bulacan, some of the farmers and some of the consumers cannot read and write. So dito na pumapasok na kami na talaga ay nagka-question, but they can understand. So hindi natin sila mabigyan ng dependent na sila yung magsasagot. Kaya kung ano na lang yung sinabi nila, itatranslate na lang namin dito sa aming mga questionnaire. And they need extra effort in order to connect and to communicate. So minsan, din yan ang napansin ko dito is kailangan medyo chika-chikahin mo ng konti yung mga respondent mo din. So minsan nga, ang nangyayari, sa isang item, edi tinanong mo, pagkatapos, may kwento pa sila, may kwento, hindi mo naman mahinto. Dahil kapag hininto mo, baka ayaw na nila sagutin yung susunod. So antayin mo muna silang matapos bago tayo pumunta sa second. Sabi ko, ay ganun po ba? O sige, ito po yung susunod na question. Tapos pagka sinabi na naman nila, may kwento na naman sila, may side sila, bawat question, may side story sila doon. Sa experience ko, ganito, blah, 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 blah. So hindi mo naman mahinto. So kaya minsan tumatagal talaga ng husto. Pero ang maganda doon, minsan kapag ganyan, papakainin kanila, imbes na ako magpakain sa kanila, sila yung magpapakain. And yun ang maganda doon. Lalo na sa Pulilan, talagang sa bawat isang farmer na pupuntahan namin, parang busog ka na. Kaya sabi ko gano'n. Kaya yung second day ng aming survey, pagka pinakain na kami, kurut-kurut na lang sa kalamay, ay puro kalamay pa yung pinapakain. E di ang bibigat sa tiyan at saka kape. Okay. So, for the limited access of key people, ang naging problema kasi dito is that yung availability nila during the visit. Kasi kahit mag-set kami, halimbawa kay barangay captain, nagpunta kami doon, nag-set kami ng appointment, pagdating naman namin doon, ay wala siya. So, mag-set na naman ng susunod na araw. Tapos nung week na nag-agreed upon kami, piyesta naman pala. So lalo namin hindi nakausap si barangay captain. Kasi si barangay captain ang pinuntahan namin para sila yung magbigay dun sa mga respondents, lalo na dun sa mga consumers. Kasi syempre pagka barangay captain na pag sinabi ng barangay captain, hindi sila makakahindi sa amin para makapag ng survey. So, yun nga, so there will be a follow-up visits and frequent rescheduling ang nangyayari kapag hindi po pwede. And the last thing na kailangan natin is needs proper endorsement. Kasi kahit yan ay local government or in the barangay level, minsan ayaw nila ng basta pupunta ka lang doon. So kailangan talaga, parang kailangan yung may kakilala na para i-endorse ka, or even do sa mga offices, halimbawa sa offices ng mga government or the policy makers. So kailangan meron siyang endorsement before ka mapunta doon at makapag-conduct ng survey. So ito yung mga problems. Kung nakikita ninyo doon sa results ni Dr. Torres na parang smooth sailing yung nangyari, hindi po, lalo na during the pandemic times. So maraming struggles kaming nagawa para magkaroon lang kami ng accurate data at ma-analyze ng data ng maganda yung aming mga data. So yun lang po, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Coronado. That was a very animated sharing and really gives us a good glimpse of what was behind the study. We surely gained a lot of insights there on how we could do more. Parang pwede na silang ma-hire ng Philippine Statistics Authority ngayon, di ba? But we know that such hard work led us to the results that we have seen earlier. And we now go to this part of our program where we have the opportunity to raise our comments and our questions and go deeper into the insights that are prompted by the study. So we also invite our guests on Zoom to actively participate. Please do not hesitate to type in your questions in the chat box, and we have Sir EJ there who will help us go through the questions that you will raise. So unless we have some pressing ones in the Zoom, I'd open our discussion now to anyone who would have questions or comments. I would request you to please briefly state your name and your affiliation and address any of our speakers or project study members who you would like to address your question to. Sorry. Okay, anyone? First takers? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Lynn.
And may we ask Dr. Torres and Dr. Coronado to join us in front, please. Okay, are we all set?
I'm Lynn Resurrection po. I'm the science editor of Business Mirror. Siguro this is not a question, this is a comment, but the body can also might also want to expound on this and give some other comments and suggestions. Sabi niyo ma'am, based on the study, the SOCMED is the social media is one of the highest source, no? And then but the attention span of the SOCMED readers are 8 to 10 seconds lang. So siguro ito kailangan din yung we should the organizations or the bodies that are involved in biotech should learn how to use TikTok. Kasi yung mga nagbabasa o gumagamit ng social media, karaniwan nag-aano ng entertainment eh. Like ako, sa gabi after doing my work, parang doon ako nag-aano ng nag-check ng social media, ng Facebook, etc. And then, inaano mo lang kung ano yung marites, ano yung bago, and then yung entertainment. Pero minsan yun din, hindi ako masyado nang nagbabasa. Kaya sinisave ko lang for future reading, yung mga ganyan. So kung merong TikTok and if people would, ganun yung attention span and they would like to be entertained and makakakuha din ng information, so that would be very useful for them, no? And then, kung social media din, so we need people like Clement and Dean to do, more people like them to do social media for biotech. And if you like, advertise ko na si Clement and Dean, they are good in their jobs, so pwede silang magbigay ng ng training for social use of social media for biotech. Meron akong doon Thank you po.
Yeah, is there any reaction from our presenters on that?
Yeah, I think as we have said, yun na nga yung pinaka-important medium ngayon. Kaya lang, kung imamatch natin sa isang finding na scientists ang trusted, turuan nating scientists mag-TikTok.
Okay, that's a very important challenge and we have scientists here. So are you willing to do TikTok? That's the question. Anyway, our next question, sir.
Hello, good morning. Mark Lesser Chico from Office of Public Relations and also from DevCom. Susugad ko lang yung sinabi ni Ma'am. Totoo yun, no? Yung tungkol sa social media. And para ma-meet natin talaga siya, Ma'am, tama na yung scientists natin should learn how to use the platform. Alam nyo ngayon, di ba, yung mga doktor natin, etc., they're on TikTok explaining their own science. And I think it's very possible. And isa sa mga critics kasi sa atin kapag DevCom or very highly scientific, napakaseryoso nung approach. So ang challenge namin, for instance, ngayon sa mga estudyante is to really put the arts into it, the creative aspect and the entertainment aspect, because that's the name of the game ngayon, no? And if we want really biotech to be appreciated at the very least, more than awareness, ay yun yung kailangan natin i-maximize. And I think we have in a very good position to train, to explore these possibilities para mas tumaas yung mas malapit tayo dun sa goal natin in terms of communicating agri-biotech. So talagang kailangan na mag-break away from the serious mode ng mga scientists and sila mismo yung humarap sa tao using new media. So, yeah.
So something similar to what was said earlier, but you might want to add or react to that, sir?
Yeah, I agree talaga dun sa kasi nasa academics din ako, and even yung TikTok nga, I use that platform also in my class, especially kasi I'm handling general ecology and some plant biosciences courses. So isa sa mga requirement ko, lalo na kapag sa ecology, kasi at the end of the semester, I am requiring them to come up with one environmental awareness that they want to discuss, but they would use the TikTok as the platform. And ang challenge na binibigay ko sa kanila, in 1 to 2 minutes, maximum of 2 minutes only, they should already convey their specific concept. So natututo din ako on the way how they would give this information, kasi in 2 minutes time talagang yung concept at saka yung gusto nilang sabihin ay naibibigay nila. So natututo na kaming mga teacher, kaming mga considered as scientists with our students dun sa kung paano gagamitin, and probably it will become effective also for the scientists para mai-convey natin itong GM na ito.
Yeah, actually yun nga, my mother is requesting, and I was also thinking about that. I know there are several hands raised, but I think it's about right that everyone's been mentioning and putting at the center our scientists. Maybe it will be good to hear from them any insights or comments about that suggestion. Sige, ladies first, doon po, tapos si sir dito. Here, ma'am, at the center po. Yeah. So are you willing to do TikTok, ma'am?
Well, it's the name of the I'm Dr. Ernie Pidilian. I just want to mention that in relation to the academe and the scientists, I think the pandemic also did the same thing. Na yun nga, the professors had to go to social media to reach out to their students. So nabago rin yung climate ng teaching. So siguro hindi pa lang masyadong nararamdaman kasi the pandemic is just 2 years. Pero in time, because now, even if we're going face-to-face, hindi na rin mawawala yung high setup because we learned that that is the best way to reach out to our students. Kasi hindi lang naman COVID ang magiging problema natin. We will experience floods, mga habagat, and so on. So classes may be suspended. And so the best way to reach your students would be through social media. And another thing that I'd like to comment on is that I think in the academe, now we have 3 functions. It's no longer just teaching and research, but also extension. And that's the reason why I've been active, because palagi tayo, lalo na yung mga government-funded schools, na-accuse na, we're just in our ivory towers nga. But we have to go out kasi para malaman ng mga tao anong ginagawa natin. Now, so those are comments. I have a question. My question is, aside from, let's say, engaging then our scientists and academics, what do you think about engaging, let's say, influencers or celebrity endorsers? Kasi syempre iba pa rin yung image nung scientist compared with maybe somebody who's popular and attractive and appealing. Baka mas papanoorin din sila ng mga tao. I mentioned this with regards to agri-biotechnology because I encountered yung isang project ng DOST, maybe those from DOST would know this. They had a project before the pandemic. This was yung Science for the People project. How to make the public aware of science in general. And what DOST did, kasi kausap ko yung isang taga business administration sa UP who was involved in this, they engage a celebrity endorser in the person of Chris Chu. Very popular siya noon kasi yun yung nananalo yung Ateneo sa UAAP. So very popular siya. And at the same time, hindi lang yung popularity, of course, very pogi siya. At the same time, yung trust daw, when they surveyed the public, yun, kasama yun yung trust rating, mataas ang trust rating niya. So maybe, I don't know if that could also be considered moving forward, maybe engaging people, influencers, kasi mabilis din silang makaka-reach ng public. Yan lang. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think pag-isipan na daw kung pwedeng i-engage si Erwin Husaf na magluto ng GM rice kasama si Ann Curtis at kakainin ng anak niyang si Dahlia. Baka pwede daw yon. Yes, ma'am.
Actually, that's very true. Isa ding established principle yon that you use the influencers. Kailangan ikinukumbine yun kasi yung influencer, kailangan trusted then. Kasi kung mababa, mayroong term tayong tinatawag sa communication na credibility ladder. Kung yung trusted na source, hindi naman siya, kung yung magsasalita, mababa ang trust. Dapat humanap ka nung somebody na makakapagsalita on his behalf na mataas ang trust. So usually, doon ginagamit yung mga influencers. For example, kung pagsalitain ko, may experience kami ito, pagsasalitain ko kaya ang secretary nung, hindi ko sabihin ng pangalan. Bawa, secretary noon ng DNR, nasa DNR kami. Hindi mahirap anuhin yung ng tao yung personality niya. So ang ginawa, kumuha ng endorser, si Christopher De Leon, panahon ko pa yun noon Pero kailangan, trusted yung influencer na yon. Hindi pwedeng yung sasabihin niya, hindi dun sa personality niya. Si Christopher was highly respected din ng public. So tama po yun. Kaya lang i-combine na trusted din po siya. Okay.
And si Sir nag-promise po ako before si Dr. Edin.
ang pinag-uusapan po natin dito yung perception study, no? Anyway, unang comment ko, sino ba ang market natin? Ang market natin yung nasa ibaba na dapat hindi, ng biotechnology. Ang context nito, simple lang eh. Gaano kataas ang comprehension ng mga Pilipino ngayon? Gaano kataas ang real literacy rate? Apparently, they only know how to read, but they cannot understand. Another issue is, mayorya ng nakalimbag na pag-aaral sa biotechnology ay nakakasulat sa wikang Ingles, no? Pero kung ang comprehension nasa ibaba ay very low, you can expect that they will continue to be ignorant of the facts. Yun ang mga kalaban natin. And now, you have a DepEd that is not even concerned about teaching. Huh? It's more concerned about the tattoo and the blank walls of classrooms. How do we expect our people to be educated? How do we expect our people to understand biotechnology, accept it, and practice it? These are the issues. Well, a requirement ngayon is how do you propagate this thing, biotechnology? Na-translate naman natin yan sa mga wika na naiintindihan ng mga tao? Hindi. So basic eh. So long na hindi naiintindihan ng mga tao yan, walang level of acceptance dyan na tataas sa 50%. So, and under this situation, na yung gobyerno mo napakaliit ng support sa education, and in fact, lakas pa yata yung budget for biotechnology, no? Ang mangyayari ngayon, yung biotechnology community is on its own. These are the factors that we have to take into account. Madali naman kasi kwan yan eh. Lahat naman tayo sumusulat sa social media. Oh, pero gaano kahaba ang attention span? 8 to 10 seconds? What's that? Hindi yung definition ng biotechnology. Hindi mo maintindihan yan in 8 to 10 seconds. No? So perhaps, ang suggestion ko, tingnan natin yung communication system natin. Tingnan natin yung, madali naman yung mga software na, mga influencers na yan eh. Pero 8 to 10 seconds ang attention span. We still have to create yung situation na may need ang mga tao for biotechnology. Hindi naman pwede kasi kung palagi tayo nasa social media and providing them what they want. We have to give them what they need. Thank you.
Okay, that's very challenging. Any feedback from the presenters or the team? Or that tinuturo na daw po yung DevCom people and the team who wants to react to that or input to that? Or maybe something that we can go back. Yes, Ma'am Ola.
Thank you, Marvin. So, boils down to kulang tayo ng translations. Kalimitan po na ginagawa namin, bakit ganitong mic na rin nawawala, no? Ayan, pati yung mic, kailangan translator. Kasi yung ating mga activities actually ay puro English nga kasi we want, sige mag-Tagalog. Gusto natin na ma-reach natin yung hindi lang sa Pilipinas kundi global community. Tapos pag meron na, saka po kami nagta-translate. Maaaring sabihin natin, yun yung current na napagsanayan na rin natin at saka yung kalimitan kahit nga sa academe, kasi ang medium of instruction ay English din. So mas yung comprehension ng mga tao, yung pag-iintindi, parang sa English language. Pero pagka lumalabas naman po kami, nung mga panahon na wala pang COVID, at saka nung nagpupunta kami sa mga iba-ibang lugar sa Pilipinas, kami po ay ready na magtagalog kahit po hirap na hirap. Pati po yung PowerPoint namin, tinatranslate din namin nung unang panahon. Ngayon, mas ano na nga po ang English, kahit nga po sa social media, English din yung tumatakbong medium of language. So, hindi po naman natin iniiwanan yon. Kaya nga po dito sa bago naming project sa Pinoy Biotech, meron na din po kaming outreach through the radio na Tagalog naman po ang medium. At saka yung pong radio, print. So, balik na naman po tayo sa dating gawi na punta tayo sa grassroots, hindi lang po farmers, pati yung mga consumers na nasa mga far-flung areas. Kasi kahit po sa radyo, kaya nila kasi walang TV, walang internet doon. Kaya radyo ang means. Tuloy-tuloy naman po to. At sana nga mas lalo nating mapadaming mapalawak pa dahil through the radio alam natin na mas maraming makaka-reach ng topic. Kaya po siguro hihingin din natin sa DA Biotech or sa DOST na bigyan natin ng yung activity project funding to do these activities na mag-reach sa mga ganong sector.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Ola. So may mga initiatives naman po at marami pang gagawin tungkol dyan. So we'll hear from Doc Elaine and then the gentleman at the back po next.
Yes, magandang umaga po. Elaine Diarena po from the Department of Science Communication from UPLB College of DevCom. Ma'am and sir, maraming salamat po dun sa pag-present ninyo. One of the things dun sa presentation na ng attention ko is yung mataas po yung trust sa mga scientists. But on the contrary, parang tama po ba na parang bumaba yung knowledge ba or yung acceptance when it comes to the concept of virus and genes? Knowledge po, no? So parang nung pinapakinggan ko or pinag-iisipan ko to, magkaiba po kasi yung trust sa scientists at trust sa science. And I think with that result, striking siya na meron tayong gap dun sa, parang there's a gap between or difference dun sa pagtiwala sa mga scientists natin, pero yung pagtiwala sa science itself. And I think dun sa mga nauna pong ni-raise ay yung the use of social media, TikTok, yung mga influencers. Baka kailangan din kasi nating pag-isipan kung pag gumamit ba tayo ng itong mga different communication platforms, would the trust in science also increase? Kasi nabanggit niyo po yung education. And part of education is also science literacy. So hanggat hindi po na-appreciate nung mga communities, ng common tao, ang kahalagahan ng siyensya sa pang-araw-araw nating buhay, ay meron din po tayo doon kailangang tugunan. So I think the call also is there, the challenge, that not just building the scientists, but also building on how we could improve trust in science. And with misinformation, disinformation, the media also plays an important role in that aspect. Yun lang po, if our speakers could also
Yeah,
comment.
trust in scientists and trust in science. Any reaction?
Ang reaction ko dun sa earlier point na yung 8 to 10 seconds lang, anong magagawa. Actually, minention lang po natin yon para sabihin na kung entry point ang hahanapin natin, yun yung top social media. But it doesn't mean dun lang kayo. Kaya nga po yung findings, meron sinabi tayo na multiple ang ang media na ginagamit ng public. No, nauna lang yung social media. So pwede namang i-complement to ibang media yung ating kasi maiiksi nga lang yung TikTok kaya kailangan i-complement siya ng some other media na makakapag-provide ng lengthier information about biotech. At saka hindi naman siya one time. Series siya talaga, continuous. Ano yan. Kaya through time, matututo rin. Di ba? Hindi naman natin alam yung waste segregation. It took us parang 30 years na tayo into waste eh. Ganun pa rin, nag-aaral pa rin tayo. But we have learned, we have already moved on. Doon sa trust on scientists and science, I think mahirap siyang hiwalayin. Kasi ang bearer ng science ay yung scientist. So, you can only trust science as long as the bearer, yung scientists, are being trusted. Kasi makukuha ng public yun sa kanila eh. Si Dr. Tylo nagsabi niya eh, paniniwalaan ko yan. Kasi plant breeder siya, parang something ganon. Pero kung science in general, I think it will boil down dun sa education at saka sa kultura sa bahay. Kung edukasyon, tinuturo yan as early as, bawa, grade 2 or 3, alam na ba ng bata kung ano ang genes by that time? O kaya ano ang gravity? Eh sa bahay, sasabihin mo rin, oh, wag kang pumanik ng mataas kasi mataas din ang lagapak mo dahil ganyan ang gravity. Eh, hindi naman natin yung sinasabi sa ano. So both ways, maraming dapat mag-complement. But I think importante nga na yung kultura ng science ma-imbibe kaya ma-appreciate ng public sa bahay pa lang, no? And then sa educational system.
If I may add po, no, dun sa experience ko po kasi dun sa grupo, di ba, kasi nga madalas kami ang nagtatanong nga, tapos sasagutin. Dun sa grupo, dun mga respondents ko, parang ang nangyayari kasi ang may question kasi doon eh, kanino nagtitiwala, may mga listahan. So, ang mga respondents mostly, nagtitiwala sila sa scientists kasi alam nila scientists ang gumagawa. Pero ang nakita kong gap kasi doon ay pagdating doon sa mga pop quiz, di ba mga sasagot sila kasi doon sila mababa eh, di ba ma'am? Parang gano'n ang lumalabas. So hindi nila alam. So ang gap doon ay alam nila na ang scientist ang gumagawa, na nagtatrust sila sa information, pero hindi naman nila alam kung ano yung ginagawa ng mga scientists about biotechnology. So parang gano'n yung nakikita ko based dun sa group ng ano ko na respondents na inano ko, I don't know with the other region. So parang gano'n yung nakikita kong gap na dapat nating lagyan ng connection.
Thank you for that important insight, sir. Sir, at the back, sorry po, I will break my promise. I'll have ma'am first here to have her question.
Good morning, I'm MJ Balaguer of DCMJ Online. Yung question ko po for direct kay Dr. Armin, regarding po sa data gathering nyo sa mga respondent, hindi po ba pwedeng yung, kasi kanina nakita na natin yung gap dahil nga yung mga alam naman natin, yung mga ibang farmer, yung mga iba hindi naman ganun ka-educated. Hindi po ba pwedeng iliwat sa Tagalog para makuha nyo yung real score? Kasi ang inaano po natin yung real perspective yung pulso ng masa. Paano pwede kasi lost in translation kasi nasa English po siya. At pwede po na i-collaborate nyo sa Komisyon sa Wikang Pilipino. Total, may batas naman po si DILG at on the scientific community, isa pa lang po yung na-awardan nila na nag-engage. Isa pa lang po yung na-awardan nila na nag-engage para nahihirapan po kasi ang scientific community na iliwat. So yung na-awardan po last August ng Komisyon sa Wikang Pilipino, in the whole scientific community, DOSTP shared pa lang po ang nag-engage. So I suggest po, kung nahihirapan kayo na iliwat para mas maging effective, pwede po na directly makipag-communicate kayo sa Komisyon sa Wikang Pilipino para mas makuha natin kung ano ba yung perspective specifically on the respondent na mga farmer. Then yung second question ko po, I'm curious because I'm Bulacania. Why in Pulilan, Bulacan? Kasi po, di ba alam naman po natin ang rice greenery, kung Central Luzon ang tinutukoy nyo ay Nueva Ecija. Bakit po sa Pulilan? Thank you.
Okay po. Dun sa unang tanong po, actually ang naging strategy namin po, although English po yung questionnaire, yung guide question namin, pagka kami na po yung nagtatanong, in Tagalog na po. Pero yung mga terminology na mahirap itagalog na hindi kami rin sure kung ano yung Tagalog, talagang English namin sa sinasabi. So yun po, kaya naging smooth din yung ating between the surveyor at saka sa survey natin. Kasi Tagalog na po yung ginagawa namin. So tinatranslate na namin. Pero kapag kayo sa mga independent kasi na nabibigay namin yung mga survey, yun medyo yung iba challenge, yung iba lalo na sa mga consumer kung hindi naka-Tagalog. Kaya minsan they leave it blank, tapos pagka kinuha namin, sa kanila sasabihin, ano bang ibig sabihin itong question na ito? So tatagalugin namin yung question kasi hindi kami pwedeng mag-explain hindi kami pwedeng mag-discuss kasi baka ma-preempt yung kanilang sagot. So tinatagalog lang namin yung in toto yung isang phrase. Tapos bakit Pulilan, Bulacan? Kasi ang area po namin ay NCR. So ang bilin sa amin ng aming project leader ay dapat near the vicinity of the NCR. At ang Bulacan ang na-identify namin na maraming traders, na maraming farmers, na pwede naming makuhaan ng respondent. Yun po.
I-add ko lang po, sa sampling kasi po namin, parang dapat adjacent sila. Kasi parang nucleus yun na in a sense, magiging homogeneous sila in a sense na dapat magkalapit sila. Dahil may respondents na hindi available sa city like farmers, wala naman doon. Punta siya doon sa kalapit na merong farming. Ganun po yung essence na.
Okay, sir, sorry to keep you waiting, but this is your time po. Yes.
Nabadilya ho sa CropLife Philippines. Yung tatanungin ko are mixture of comments. With regards yung social media, we don't really look at the attention time or yung time that they spent there. What our objective is to get followers and subscription. Kasi yung gera ho ngayon dun sa social media, in order for you to get funding is to really get followers and likes, no? And yung likes kasi medyo ano pa yun medyo duda pa yun Maybe the guy just went in there and just put a thumb up. But ang amin, so yun namang endorsers, 10 years ago, we looked at, as a company, we looked at yung mga pwede, lalo na kung science and technology. And if you remember Kim Atienza, so we used him because he was all about science, no? And that gave us a lot of opportunity para makakuha ng mga tao magkakaroon ng interest sa science. We're also looking at that, no? Maybe we're looking at, but we are more concerned about yung subscription ng endorser. It's not because he's popular, but we want to get ano ba tawag doon? Acquire the subscription that he has so that we could bring message across. So yun, pangalawa. Pangatlo, just a point, no? As an industry, we have a very strong stewardship program, no? Katulad ng yung mga resistance management, safety use. So hinahalo-halo namin kasi farmers ang customer namin, ang ginagamit ho namin mga comics, no? So pag kinonvert niyo yung comics, tapos tatagalogin mo o ibibisaya, mas madali hong makakuha ng intindi. So those are things that just like to add to the kasi napunta na ho tayo dun sa social media. So just a question I have is on the survey itself. Ang question ko, kasi pag tiningnan niyo yung profile of the different segments, are the questions paiba-iba ho ba? Kasi they have all different interests I was more concerned about the traders and the business. For us, corn kasi 80% is feeds. And the buyers are really the feed manufacturers. So ang akin, if there was some points there, sana makuha yung segment na yon kasi they have quality expectations. And at the same time, they have a different way of looking at grades of corn. Although they are concerned also of GMO, but we also want to know if they are also very particular. No? So that's the first question. The second question I have is on the farmers survey. just to relay our experience, we do every 2 years as part of the biosafety requirement of BPI, we are required to do almost one nationwide survey. But this is more for resistance. And the survey that we do is ang effective was to group them all in one place, yung mga farmers, but to get agricultural extension officers para there's no bias and there's really not somebody telling you, isagot mo yan. Hindi ganun. Kaya we are very particular of the presence of the agriculture officer and the BPI. And at the same time, ang speaker namin is somebody from the local region. So kung Ilocano, Ilocano ang salita. Pero Tagalog pa rin yung yung questionnaire, no? Para maging But we subdivide it, no? Meron din kaming questionnaire for the agriculturists. So maybe we can combine forces. Maybe we can get some of your questions. We can put it there and you might be part of the sayang din naman isang biyahe na lang. So yun lang. I think the question I have is more for the questionnaire being segmentized and appropriate for the different segments. Kasi yung consumer, we don't have labeling So I don't know where they will have to be meticulous in terms of their buying practices if there is no real GMO labeling here in the country. Yun lang po. Thank you.
I hope I understand you right.
Yeah.
Yung unang question is disaggregation ng data. Actually, yung aming data, yung first level, public talaga in general.
In general.
Pero po yung disaggregated na andun po sa appendices. So makikita nyo yung specific sa business and traders. Kasi sa report po, sinasite din namin sa item na ito, sino yung mataas, sino yung mababa, sino yung nag-agree, sino yung nag-disagree. Pero kung gusto nyo makita lang, let's say yung business and traders, pwede nyo pong matrace. Kaya lang, yung purpose kasi po ng study namin, public. Though in communication, ito, prinsipyo to namin ng communication, we do not break the rules sana. Hindi nga po namin ina-address sana yung public. Kasi nga po, segmentized dapat sila dahil iba-iba talaga. Yung comics would work well sa farmers, but it might not work well sa scientists o kaya sa policy makers. So ganun po. Actually, sa good practices, dapat specific ang materials dun sa audience. Apo, ito lang, binigyan lang namin kayo ng picture na, pag tinignan mo ang Pinoy, paano nila nakikita yung biotech. Pero, pag nag-strategize na kayo, maganda makita talaga yung disaggregated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sige po, may follow-up si Ma'am Elaine.
Quick lang po, kasi sa science communication literature, we term publics. Ibig sabihin nun yung sinasabi po ni Ma'am Offie. Kaya kung ine-explain niya, public, in academic literature ng science communication, publics could also mean farmers, traders, kaya publics siya. Hindi po yung general na public na hindi natin kilala kung sino. So yun lang po for clarity.
I-add ko lang po din yung sa second parang comment ni Sir regarding dun sa farmers. Kasi in our experience, yung first day namin, kasi ang unang strategy na ginawa namin para mabilis, ganun nga po, minsan group of people. Pero ang nangyari kasi, di bali, kakilala kasi siya nung aming key informant person. So kakilala siya, so in-invite siya doon sa bahay nila. So pagdating namin, nandun na silang dalawa. So ang nangyari doon sa first na namin, pagka tinanong mo, edi kayo po, ano po yung sagot po ninyo? Sasabihin niya. Tapos pagka yung pangalawa naman, ano po sa, ganun din po yung sagot ko. Edi tick mark. Tapos sa susunod, parang napapansin namin, ganun ang ganun lagi. Kaya ginagawa namin, nira-randomize namin, o kayo naman po umaunang sumagot. Tapos yung ganun. Kaya nung next namin na ginawa, nung nag-usap kami ng enumerator, wag na nga natin pagsabayin. O kung pagsabayin natin, tigisa na lang tayo. Wag na tayong mag-isa kasi nagkokopyahan parang eskwelahan. So para walang bias at saka medyo accurate na yung ating So yun po yung sa experience po namin, kaya medyo nagtatagal kami. Kaya sabi namin, okay lang na magtagal kesa naman sa nagkokopyahan sa mga sagot. Yun po yung sa experience po namin.
Interesting. Meron pa po ba? Or, yeah, okay, ma'am, and then sir, and we encourage our guests on Zoom. You can really participate. Please don't hesitate to type in your questions so we can discuss them.
Ofi, kumusta po? Panopio po sa Crop Life. Ang question ko ma'am, although nabanggit niyo po na nandun sa appendices yung mga tungkol doon sa mga specific holders, baka you could share kahit high level lang, ano yung findings niyo doon sa ang interest namin kasi ma'am yung mga policy makers. So in terms of their sources of information and their sino yung mga trusted nila na source of information, sino ma'am yung lumilitaw sa policy makers, nagkaroon ba ng shift from the 2006 survey to the present? And also one query din kasi you tried to see then yung what would be the data coming from those provinces na may moratorium, di ba ma'am? So could you also share ano yung findings doon sa mga provinces na yan? Thank you,
Yeah,
ma'am.
parang hindi ko na ano yung slide na yun. But there's only one slide anyway. There's no difference. So the GMO ban did not make any difference on the results or findings ng study. Pareho lang yung the 3 provinces yun eh. Kinumpare namin doon sa ilan ba yung 7. Pareho lang. So it did not matter. Ngayon yung sa business, hindi ko siya masasaulo lahat eh. No? Ay, yung sa policy makers. Pero still scientists yung nagpe-prevail. Oh, hindi ko lang matandaan masyado ng madaming data. Oh, yung sources nila, I think as far as I could remember, hindi necessary yung person sources scientists, parang tsaka mga print materials yung sa kanila. More on print materials ang policy makers.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, I think maganda na may parang per populate there is a separate like summary, executive summary. Yes, sir, you were raising your hand.
Good morning, this is James from the Manila Bulletin Agriculture. And yung tanong ko medyo related because we noticed na merong mga banned, mga provinces that are banning GMOs. So I think kasagot na kanina na about dun sa how did it affect yung perception ng mga farmers or ng mga correspondents about the GMO. Then I think comment lang about this kasi I think do sa mga policy makers there is something na contrasting between dun sa the R&D. They're saying na they are promoting GMO and biotechnology, pero meron pa ring retractors from the policy makers. Do you think it is really affecting the public perception in the whole po, in the Philippines po?
Hindi ko masyadong nag-get. Sa scientists, merong R&D na academic. So,
I mean, the scientists and the R&D is promoting po yung really promoting the biotech and GMO. But there are policies pa rin po na something that is preventing or against dun sa promotion ng katulad po ng banning ng GMOs. Does it affect po yung perception ng public sa GMO?
Hindi ko rin mag-gets. Kung nakaka-apekto yung
policy making, mga policies po
sa
about
policies, kung ang source ay scientists, R&D, yun ba?
yung policy makers po,
Yung policy makers,
they are banning
they are
GMO.
banning GMOs. Yung let's say yung mga governors doon.
Yes po.
Kung
Does it affect yung perception po?
doon sa provinces nila? Yung question earlier, hindi nga, hindi. Tiningnan namin, ito si Juvie ang nagdetalyo. Juvie, can you elaborate? Kasi siya yung nag-analyze. Okay.
Sorry po, pero nung compare namin, walang difference. Dun sa GMO at dun sa non-GMO, may bang wala. Same lang talaga. So it seems like hindi ang nakaka-influence sa perception nila ay not so much the existence of a policy, a local policy on agri-biotech, at least from this study. Do we have questions on Zoom? We encourage everyone. Any other? Yes, ma'am, at the back, you're raising your hand. Other questions? Yes.
How about yung policy makers? How do they influence yung action ng mga constituents nila? Kasi for instance, may mga governor or mga policy makers, LGU officials na ito ang kanilang perception. And during public consultations or whatever, nagsispeak sila. So yun siguro yung tanong, parang how much of their influence affect yung mismong constituents perception ng biotech.
We have
Wala
no
rin.
way of knowing that. Kasi yung
Not part-
questionnaire was intended to be some kind of a poll survey, parang tick, yes, no, true, false, agree, disagree. Wala siyang probing or something that would go into the detail. Wala kaming ganun.
Siguro ba parang room yun for other research,
That
no?
can
Kasi
be another future research.
yeah.
Kung,
Kasi
ano
in
yung-
some studies talagang ang strong ng pag-follow ng mga
Aha.
constituents doon sa kanilang mga leaders na parang kahit anong sabihin, pinaniniwalaan nila. So parang somehow yun yung influencers nila, yung mga LGU officials nila.
Hindi nga kami sure kung alam ba ka ng probinsya na may ban sila. Yun yung first thing to know siguro. Alam ba ng constituents nila na under ban, GMO ban yung ano nila? Yeah, we don't know. Sorry, hindi kasi designed yung questionnaire study for that. Okay.
Okay, ma'am?
Just a follow-up, ma'am, to that question. Doon sa areas na yon, ano yung result ng survey? Mataas ba yung approval sa biotech or mababa? Doon siguro natin malalaman kung they were influenced by the policy of the local leaders. Thank you po.
Favorable. Pareho nga favorable.
Okay.
They
Thank you
find
very
the
much.
favorable. Kung saan sila mababa, pareho din. Genes and viruses. Yun nila alam.
Okay. So talagang
Favorable
sa
din.
lahat ng lugar, ganun siya.
Thank
Thank you very
ironic
much.
nga na it did not affect. Talagang favorable din. Yun ang una namin tinignan. Ano ba? Negative? Hindi Positive.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Yeah, are there other questions from the group? Nagmerienda naman po tayo, so I think we can postpone a bit of lunch. Kung wala pong tanong kasi ako may tanong, so sasamantalahin ko na kung nasa akin yung mic. I know the study was not designed to probe, so looking into values might not be the more prominent result that we will see, but a lot of studies about biotechnology, including like the recent one I heard about synthetic biology, which sometimes gets into the discourse of genetic modification, also show that the concern of people is not so much the science behind it, they're not doubting it, but it's more of the values that they have. Values like provenance, yung saan ba ito galing, anong pinagmula nito, mababalik ko ba yung chicken dun sa egg, yung parang gano'n, matitrace ba ko ba siya? Or what they call in French, terroir, yung what's the essence of this? Anong klaseng lupa ang nag-produce ng wine na to? Anong klaseng grapes? What's the climate? Ano yung produce with this kind of technology? And another thing that is common is purity. Purity meaning nagtitinker ba to with the natural? Because there's a tendency somehow a universal kind of value that natural is better. So those values are closely associated with sentiments about synthetic biology. And we saw in this study, although it was not designed this way, halimbawa din sa animal biotechnology slide nyo, it showed that purity was not a major concern. They're not concerned with tinkering. But it turns out the value that I seem to get is that ethics, yung ano mangyayari sa animal, tapos
safety. And then at the end, you also showed important value that's difficult to address, and we're not really discussing very much here, no? The value of social and economic justice. Kasi yun yung lumalabas sa why do you have reservations? Oh, because of, the MNC, sorry, crop life, sorry, industry, but that's how they think. And these are values that are embedded regardless of the science or the trust in the science, right? So I wanted to ask if there are other values that could be culled from what you have seen so far in the responses, and possibly something that can be probed further in perhaps a more quantitative study in the future.
Anak ko yan, pero hinuli niya agad ako. Dapat siguro tatanong ko yan sa Hindi. Based doon lang sa hard results, yung MNCs lang ang medyo palagay ko mahirap nga i-address kasi parang sa value system natin na nakikinabang ba din ang farmers kung hindi sila makapag-produce ng seeds nila, na parang ang feeling nila na deprived kasi sila nung traditional nila that they can keep their seeds. Dahil sa science naman, pinoproduce naman yung GM crops in the laboratory, paano mo may po-produce ng farmers yun sa field? In fact, yung iba nag-try doon sa aming isang study, nag-try silang mag-keep ng BT corn. Hindi naman tumubo. O tumubo daw, iba ang lumabas. So yun yung so mahirap sa akin, parang yung mga ganong value system dapat ngang i-address, pero hindi ko rin alam kung paano. Kasi parang at some point may trade-off ang technology. So isang trade-off yun, hindi sila makatanim. Are they willing? Ito nga, I'm referring to all the stakeholders kasi for sure ang farmers hindi willing. Marami sa kanila. Meron namang willing, may willing na farmers. Kaya lang, may mga reservations sa iba kasi hindi nga makapag-keep ng sariling seeds. Kaya nga at the end, sabi natin, may trade-off yun. Mamimili kayo. What trade-off are you willing to accommodate or not? Mahirap sagutin yan.
Ayan, sir, baka si sir may sagot and then si Mamo.
I've been in the industry for almost 25 years, no? Yung biotech, when it came, we were, the objective of the multinationals was really looking at population, but also may business yun. Kasi you have to look at the market and say, ito na ang next big thing. Food security is the next big thing. And up to now, we're still struggling, di ba? So, ang sa akin, it was meant a science that would address the 30 billion population that will come by 2050 or whatever. So yun ang napaka-importante. And that's value that is not actually communicated. Yun din ang namin eh. We want to make sure that they understand where we're coming from. Yun namang MNC, I hope we don't use multinational kasi all the companies are actually operational here. The seeds are grown here through contract growing with local farmers. The plant that dries the seeds are all here for corn. And then, ang technology of breeding the different attributes of the seeds are done here. So, yung mga ngayon na nagde-develop na ng business nila na local, they're actually breeders that were educated through the MNC. And, it's part of competition. Like yung chemicals, after you lose your patent, you become a generic, parang pharmaceutical din, no? But that is dependent on resources talaga. On how you bring up products or you copy a technology. Wala upan yun. It will require resources. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I hope we don't use the MNC anymore. Just one more. Si Senator Cynthia Villar kept talking that our products are imported. So somebody corrected her. Sabi namin, hindi, dito ho gawa yan.
Thank you for the clarification. Si Ma'am Ola po.
Puno-nim yung biotech crops in 2002. Palaki ng palaki yung ating hectarage with biotech crops. kung may problema po tayo sa seeds, hindi yung lalaki ng ganon. So currently, ang ating pang-adoption rate sa Pilipinas is close to 80% na. So nag-umpisa niya ng 2003, kaunti-kaunti. Ngayon malaki na. Kung may problema po tayo sa cost of seeds, ganyan, hindi po lalaki. At nakita natin yung benefits. And we have if you go to the ISAAA website, meron kaming mga infographics doon that show that the benefits gained by Filipino farmers has been increasing since it started. And also, meron din pong study na sa Argentina back into 2015 na ang benefits na nakukuha ng farmers is higher than the technology developers. Kaya yun po, kung meron pa punta lang, pwede kong ibigay yung resource. Thank you po.
So I think that's to people who have, kasi yun yung lumalabas ng reservation nila, diba? The social equity behind it.
Baka hindi sa farmers kasi nga ito public ang daming stakeholders. So baka sa farmers lang na level, baka nga hindi kasi laki ng hectareage ngayon.
Yeah, but yung public na may ganong reservation.
Ibang stakeholder.
Okay, si Sir po nag-release ng hand kanina. Do you still want to ask something?
Nabanggit niya kanina yung Cynthia Villar, ano? Well, si Cynthia Villar, actually, she controls the research funds of the DA. No? So you have the chairman or chairwoman of the Senate talking about food and agriculture, who also sponsored the rice tarification bill, now a law. Kaya yan, no? Because we have been advancing sa rice production natin with this law, ang rice deficit, ang rice output deficit natin ngayon, 21%. While before, later years nila Arroyo and Company, ang deficit na nakita ko sa Department of Agriculture at the time was about 7.6% lang. Meaning, kung ang production mo ng rice, hindi sabay-sabay na pumapasok sa market, kundi staggered yung release, hindi mo kailangan mag-import na napakarami. So, with biotechnology and its obsession for higher yield, technically, hindi mo kailangan mag-import. Kung mataas ang output mo sa corn, no? At hindi sabay-sabay na lumalabas yan sa merkado, sigurado mapupunan mo yung requirements ng yellow corn for feed and for food. Sa rice, ganun din. There are certain areas in this country that produces 3 croppings a year ng rice. And why? Meron silang tubig. Year-round ang tubig nila sa some parts of Antique. They can do it. Why can't we do it in other places? Why? Because itong sila Cynthia Villar and Company are insisting on a land use act that would allow farmers to sell their land, agrarian reform farmers to lease their land, and eventually babagsak yan kila Villar. Because they're the biggest land bankers in this country. So what are we doing? We are killing our own agriculture. No? Hindi mo, pagka ganyan ang policy natin, huwag na tayo mag-biotech, mag-import na lang tayo.
Okay, sir. But thank you for that. I think the broader political economy, that's really way beyond the scope of the study, but thank you for raising that. Meron pa po ba other questions or concerns? I know we're standing between you and a much anticipated lunch, but maybe Zoom, mukhang quiet ang ating ano. Okay, so if there are no more questions, we close the question and answer part, but before we proceed to the next part of the program, we would like to ask the team members and the partners of the study to please join us in front for a quick photo opportunity. Ako lumabas ni Dr. Torres Villa.
Yung part ng ano, yung research.
Organize here maybe. Photo op. Before
Yung research team plus representative from ano, SEARCA and one from the ABPO, please. We will have a, and can you carry with you yung ano, yung book photo? Bring with you the copy.
Okay. Well, punta lang po tayo sa harap. Yung mga nasa yan from SEARCA, ISAAA, DevCom, and DAB. Nandito po ba si Ma'am Charmaine? Ayan, there. Right.
Copy of the book, please. Okay.
Ano po side ko mo? Resolve. Ano, tama. Tapos si Ruby, sabi niya, naka-online ka lang.
Okay, thank you very much. May we give a round of applause to the project team for doing their work despite the pandemic and bringing us these very important results. So we'll proceed to the next part, but before we close, I'd like to call on Dr. Rodora Alvenita, Ma'am Ola, to help us present the certificate of appreciation to our two presenters. So Dr. Torres and Dr. Coronado, we would ask you to present. So first, this certificate of appreciation is presented to Dr. Cleofe Torres for sharing knowledge and expertise as resource speaker during the launch and stakeholder engagement public perception of agriculture biotechnology 16 years after the public debates on GM crops on September 22, 2023 at Acacia Hotel Manila. Signed by Executive Director of ISAAA, Dr. Dora Romero Alderita. So for Dr. Torres, and the same citation reads for Dr. Arlene S. Coronado. For Dr. Coronado. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. And to formally close our program, she needs no introduction. She's a familiar face to many. And we know that this study would not have been completed without her leadership. So for the closing remarks, I give to you Dr. Adora Aldenita, Executive Director of ISAAA. Good noon. Alam ko na medyo gutom na, pero this is a very exciting moment and very happy that ISAAA has again launched another study or another book which will put the Philippines and continue to be the prime mover of biotechnology in the region, the Southeast Asia, Pacific, and the Oceania. We have been flagging about how the Philippines has been moving from the time that we started planting biotech crops in 2002. And this is one of those significant milestones that will mark us as the prime mover still. I just want to congratulate everyone, especially the CDC team, who has painstakingly made or implemented this project in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I just remembered when we started working on this proposal with SEARCA Group, with Jerome, Maricel, and Dane, when we were having a very exciting meeting on thinking of going to this place and become enumerators. We were assigning ourselves who's going here, who's going there, what are the expenses. So we were just putting together the concept. And then suddenly, nag-COVID. So parang naging zero yung aming planning na yun. And parang how are we going to do this? So we started we proposed it to be a BPO. We were not even thinking of this being approved. Kasi it was in a difficult time na it's going to be impossible. And then the BPO believed that we can do it. And then we approached Dr. Torres. Can we devise something during this COVID pandemic? And yun. So lumabas na we can do it through the Google survey, and we had 10 enumerators or facilitators that helped us. So Dr. Armin is just one of those. You can just imagine your experiences of the other enumerators or facilitators. When we call meetings every other week by Zoom and asking them to report the extent of their work, what has been done, what are the problems, what are the challenges. The group has to devise, ano pwede natin gawin? Sino pwede natin hilahin? Sino yung, sino yung mag-push for us? Kasi we know that Dr. Oki is a professor and she has a lot of network. Kami ni Jerome, parang sino ba rin ang lalapitan natin dyan? Parang at loss pa rin kami at a loss that time. Kasi kakunti rin naman ang alam namin dun sa mga other areas. There are also areas na may banya, so the 3 provinces. But lo and behold, natapos within a year. And there were challenges. We were able to overcome it. The group was able to overcome it. And we really believe that even if Dr. Oki is already retired, she's still able. Yeah, yung kanyang network is still there, and she believes in her students who will help her out in the conduct of the research. But that's another story. The story is that from 2002 up to now, we need to celebrate because we have passed that time when biotech is something to be scared about. We have seen that favorable responses to some of the questions. Of course, there are still some which needs to be addressed head on kasi kailangan pa rin natin na maayos yung kanilang science basis. Kasi yung kanilang science culture is still not there. Kaya medyo nahihirapan ang ating mga the public sector and also some of the sectors in
understanding what is a virus, mga ganon, and is it infectious or not. So at this point, I'd like to emphasize that even if we have this public perception, we celebrate that the Philippines is still #1 in Southeast Asia. We have increased biotech crop adoption in corn. We have approved 3 more new biotech crops for propagation. Hopefully, they are in the farmers' hands by the end of the year. It's like the golden rice, the eggplant, and most recently, the BT cotton. So we're happy na besides all this, medyo lukewarm pa rin yung perception ng ating public, the adoption is there. And farmers are waiting for these products. And we hope na as they become available in the market, our farmers will be benefited, their livelihoods improve, and that everybody in the Philippines will be looking forward to a 20 pesos kilo of rice. That's beside the point, pero we hope na the findings of this study will help us in our search for, or in our quest for food sustainability in the country. A lot of highlights came up, and we have to move forward. There were suggestions that came up from you, the audience. So we have to look at the possibility of music endorsers, credible endorsers, who can immediately post for acceptance of biotech. We use laymanized form of publications, not only in our internet or in our website, but also in social media. Paulit-ulit namin sinasabi kanina, yung language is important, and the laymanizing of that, so that our public sector will know and will increase acceptance and adoption. Marami pa pong biotech crops na mayroong nutrition improved na traits na darating sa atin, especially with the gene-edited crops. Kaya we need our comprehension ng public about the science. And then scientists, ISAAA and SEARCA, have been engaging our scientists and teaching them how to communicate science. Kaya hopefully when ISAAA and SEARCA invite you to come to our activities for these kinds of training, the scientists can come and they can help out, and they can be trained and help us out in communicating biotech crops. Para walang akong na-miss. Okay. So with that, I'd like to thank and congratulate again the organizers of this forum. I'd like to thank the ISAAA staff, headed by Popen and Janine, who invited you and followed up all the communications so that you can come over. And of course, our research team, the CDC. Thank you, Ma'am Ovi and staff. Thank you so much, Kathy and Vivi, and all the facilitators, field coordinators, the FCs. Sana imbitahin namin sila lahat dito, kaya lang in all regions kasi ng Pilipinas, medyo limited tayo sa travel, kaya we got the most accessible na FC. But I know that ma-reach natin sila with our congratulations and appreciation. And also, you have seen that we are now with the media, with the industry, with the regulators, our DA Biotech group who funded the project. And what else? Scientists, sabi ko na ba? Hindi ko lang narinig yung boses si Dr. Tylo, pero I know that she's Dr. Tylo and group. And so with that, thank you so much. Thank you all organizers, and have a good night to everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Alamita. That formally ends our program, which, as we have seen from the rich discussion today, sparked encouragement to pursue our advocacy on biotechnology, and at the same time, you renewed discussions of how we can better engage our publics with ML. So before you leave, there's lunch, and please accomplish the evaluation form. We have here the QR code as well as the link so that you can get your certificate after. So we hope to continue the conversation over lunch and even after as we return to our respective offices. So thank you very much for coming, and we wish you all a restful weekend. Thank you very much.